Male, female, boy, girl. Biologically, do males have an advantage over females biologically in sport?
You know, there's been this news article about men that think that they could beat Serena Williams in tennis, right? That they think that they could actually score a point on her. And it's just not the case. She is stronger than that.
What's your experience, Ben? Male, female.
Both Serena and Venus lost to the 203rd ranked male tennis player, which they're phenoms for women. My experience, my husband, he swam at University of Kentucky as well. In terms of accolades and in terms of national ranking, I was a much better swimmer than him. He could kick my butt any day of the week without trying.
Senator Kennedy is about to take this hearing in a very direct direction. He starts with a basic question about sex and gender, but then takes the discussion straight into one of the most controversial issues in sports, whether biological differences between males and females create a competitive advantage.
Ms. Robinson, I want to follow up by trying to understand your answer to one of Senator Cruz's questions. And this is really a question, not a suggestion. Do I understand your position to be that there are two sexes, but there can be more than two genders?
I wouldn't even say two, and we've got Dr. Lopez here as well, but there's also the definition of intersex. I think that often in these conversations we're conflating sex and gender, and I do want to affirm here that trans women are women. That is their gender.
Do you make a distinction between sex and gender?
Yes, sir.
Do you think there are more than two sexes?
I believe that there's a definition for intersex as well that I want to acknowledge, but sex is assigned at birth.
I'm just trying to understand. I'm thoroughly confused. So you're born, I'm talking about biology, male, female, and what else?
I believe that intersex is also acknowledged, but again, I'm not a doctor here. What I can
and
say
what does intersex mean?
Is that there's a difference between sex and gender, and I think in these conversations we're conflating the two.
Well, but I want to start with sex, okay? There's male, there's female. When a baby's born, before the baby has had time to even have a sense of self, there's male, female, and intersex. There's a third sex.
I believe that is true, but I would defer to Dr. Lopez as I'm not a physician.
Okay. And how many genders are there?
I think the gender is expansive, and the definitions are always growing. Today I can tell you, I talk to young people that talk about non-binary as...
More than five?
I think the gender is not a binary, is what I'm trying to say.
Are there more than five genders? I'm just trying to understand. Are there more than five genders?
Well, I think that there was a time where women wearing pants didn't feel like it was appropriate for their gender, and yet I'm wearing pants today. I think that there are ways that we express our gender that are expansive.
Are there more than five?
I wouldn't subject myself to naming how many genders there are, but what I can say is that gender is a reflection. Excuse me?
There's an infinite number of genders?
I think depending on your culture, there are a lot of different genders that exist. And I can also say that it's a term that's evolving. If you look at young people today, they really don't lean into the binary of only woman and man. So I think that it's incumbent upon us not to legislate on this, but create space for them to explore what their identities are, what their gender identities are.
Let's get back to athletics. I think I understand what you're saying. There are three sexes, male, female, and intersex.
I believe that to be true, but again, I'm not a physician.
And there are an infinite number of genders because gender is a mental state.
Gender is about expression, and I think that there are a variety of ways that you can express your gender.
Okay, so there's infinite number. All right, let's go back to the biology. Male, female, boy, girl. Biologically, do males have an advantage over females biologically in sport?
This is where the conversation shifts from definitions to real-world competition. Kennedy is no longer asking how many genders someone believes exists. He wants to know whether biological sex creates measurable physical differences that matter when men and women compete in sports.
I'm not a physician, and I can't speak to that.
What's your real-world experience?
It depends. There are some people who are born male that I'm faster than if I were to sprint against them, and some that I'm not. Some males that are taller than some women, and some that are shorter.
You don't believe that a biological male has a physical advantage in sports over a biological female?
Not as a definitive statement.
Give me an example. Well, no, I don't think. How many female members of the NBA do you see?
Well, I can say that, there's been this news article about men that think that they could beat Serena Williams in tennis, right? That they think that they could actually score a point on her. And it's just not the case. She is stronger than that.
What's your experience, Ben? Male, female?
Both Serena and Venus lost to the 203rd ranked male tennis player, which they're phenoms for women. My experience, my husband, he swam at University of Kentucky as well. In terms of accolades and in terms of national ranking, I was a much better swimmer than him. He could kick my butt any day of the week without trying.
Okay. I just think, Ms. Robinson, I'm trying to understand where you're coming from. I think you lose a lot of credibility when you don't concede that a biological male has physical advantages over a biological female. I mean, I just think that's a proven fact, and you really hurt your credibility. I understand you want the world to be a better place. I do too, and I don't think people ought to be discriminated against because of an immutable characteristic. I don't, and I think that I think everybody ought to be free to be themselves. And what you do in your bedroom or what I do in my bedroom with a consenting adult is nobody's business. But if what I do in my bedroom with a consenting adult, if I decide I want to tell somebody's child about it, then other people have rights too. And I think parents have rights. And I think biological females have rights to be able to compete fairly in sport, in sports. So I really think you hurt your credibility when you refuse to acknowledge that biological males have an advantage over biological females. It kind of makes me wonder about all your testimony.
What I'm trying to say is that there is not a definitive advantage in all cases. Sir, I don't know if you believe that you could beat Serena Williams in tennis, but I probably think that that's not the case. There are not all cases where all men are physically superior to all women. And at the end of the day, in this conversation, we're not talking about that. We're talking about trans women who are, in fact, women, who deserve to play in a gender that matches their sports, who deserve all the benefits that Ms. Gaines is talking about. And as a cisgender black woman, I can say definitively that my womanhood is not threatened by a transgender person asserting hers as well.
What made this exchange so contentious is that Kennedy and Miss Robinson were approaching the issue from two very different starting points. Kennedy was focused primarily on biology and competitive fairness. His argument was that when it comes to sports, the question isn't simply about identity or how someone identifies. He wanted the witness to acknowledge whether biological differences between males and females can create physical advantages that matter in athletic competition. Miss Robinson, on the other hand, repeatedly emphasized that not every male is stronger or faster than every female. She also argued that transgender women should be recognized according to their gender identity and should have the opportunity to participate in sports consistent with that identity. Kennedy wasn't saying that every individual male athlete will automatically outperform every individual female athlete. His argument was about the broader biological differences between the sexes and whether those differences should matter when determining competitive categories. That distinction is important because the debate over transgender participation in sports isn't simply a debate about individual athletes. It also involves questions about fairness, eligibility, privacy, inclusion, and the rights of biological female athletes to compete on what they consider a level playing field. And Kennedy made his position very clear. He said people should be free to live their lives without discrimination. But he also argued that individual freedom doesn't eliminate the rights of other people, particularly parents and female athletes. Miss Robinson disagreed with the premise that there is a definitive physical advantage in every individual case and argued that transgender women deserve the same opportunities and benefits as other women. So this exchange ultimately comes down to a difficult question. When it comes to competitive sports, should eligibility be determined primarily by gender identity, biological sex, or some combination of factors? Kennedy clearly believes biological differences have to be taken seriously. Robinson believes that doing so shouldn't come at the expense of transgender athletes.
And that's why this discussion continues to generate so much debate. What do you think? Did Kennedy make a convincing case about fairness in women's sports? Or did Miss Robinson make the stronger argument? Let me know in the comments, and subscribe for more heated congressional exchanges.